Hello, welcome back to another episode of Bastions and Basilisks. Uh, I'm Kalvin.
I'm Brandon.
I'm going to eat this episode.
So am I.
So is he. This is the eating episode. If only there was like a college of cooking for bards.
Isn't that the premise of Hunter x Hunter?
No.
I mean, like, there's like people who specialize in like foods in Hunter x Hunter. I know there's Food Wars specializes in cooking.
Well, there's also I don't remember her name, but from Black Clover, there's a character who she like summons like sheep and stuff, and she's also a cook.
Yeah, she's a member of the Black Bulls, right?
She is. She's great. I love her. I love everybody in the Black Bulls. Especially Gordon. Gordon needs all the goddamn love he can get.
What? You said Gordon?
Gordon, yeah, that's the emo guy that like talks quietly that always gets left behind.
I call him Marilyn Manson.
Fair. All right, so today we're starting off with the College of Lore. I mean, it's right out of Player's Handbook. First thing you get, bonus proficiencies. When you join the College of Lore at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with 3 skills of your choice. Solid. More skills is always good because technically you can train to get new skills, but it takes 100 days minus 10 times your intelligence modifier. So math. So my wizard can learn anything in 50 days because he's wicked smart.
You can learn how to become a god and then denounce religion in the same 50 days.
Right. No, he could learn how to become a god and renounce religion in the amount of time that it would take a normal person to learn a skill. He's like, I learned how to bake. I'm like, I learned how to become a god, and then I learned how to renounce all religion. Why? Summer vacation? I don't know. I was bored.
Yeah, I learned how to do it. Didn't mean I did it.
I had the time. So yeah, 3 skill proficiencies, not the most powerful or overpowered, unlike Glamour. But 3 more skills is like it's because it doesn't get it's never a bad thing to have more skills, especially as a bard who starts with 3 of any skill they want. So you can have 6 of any skill. So it gives you a whole lot of options for, especially like if you're playing in a group and you're realizing where the weaknesses are. In like, if you have a fighter who's got athletics and this, and then it's like, if you like, well, it's either we take a feat to gain skills and waste a feat, arguably, or you're like, I just go College of Lore because I'm already a bard. I'm already, I mean, although it's as a bard, you have your jack of all trades, so you're technically proficient in all skills, somewhat, or all skills and all tools. But it doesn't hurt. So I will never say anything bad about just getting free skills. Cutting words, we were mentioning this earlier or last video. Also at 3rd level, you learn how to use your wit to distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence of others. When a creature that you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a damage roll, I like the damage roll one. You can use your reaction to expend one of your uses of Bardic Inspiration, rolling a Bardic Inspiration die, and subtracting the number rolled from the creature's roll. You can choose to use this feature after the creature makes its roll, but before the DM determines whether the attack roll or ability check succeeds or fails, or before the creature deals its damage. The creature is immune if it can't hear you, or if it's immune to being charmed.
So, question on that, because we were talking about how it says if it can't understand you. It doesn't clarify that it has to understand you. So what would you say on that? Because it says it can't hear you. would you as a DM extend that to understanding
No,
also?
no.
Okay.
Because if I said, if we were fighting and I called you a stupid fuck waffle, but in a language you don't understand,
I almost inhaled a noodle because that was funny. I just wasn't expecting waffle after that. I was like,
um,
okay, stupid fuck makes sense. Waffle, yeah, that's where I choke on food.
right? But yeah, just because you don't understand what they're saying, like there's a thing. I think there's examples of videos where like people be like, I know that person's insulting me, I just don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, like you're in person, you can see them gesturing angrily. It's like you know they're upset at you. Like in our in the Western world, people understand the middle finger means fuck you, but in the Eastern world or other places where it's other fingers, it's like I feel like they would get the premise because like, hey, they're not showing me that finger, but it might, come up if I'm correct in
Right,
certain
because if you
certain
think about it, language is not just the word; it's the context of how the word is used.
yeah. Like the word fuck is used so liberally and it means so many things. Like it could be offensive, it could be like
Yeah,
beneficial, like it's congratulatory, like it's so
right,
widely.
exactly.
I think it's
Like
arguably
if somebody if we were doing if you won if we're playing something and you won and I'm like fuck you my guy like it's versus if I was angry I'd be like fuck you it's all yeah it's about there's more there's context to it that isn't just inherently in the words, so just because you can't understand the words being said doesn't mean you can't pick up the context cues, um, which is funny when it's like dogs, because I think there's the like you make fun of your dog, like you talk shit about your dog, but you do it and they're like, oh you're such a good boy, but you do like, oh you're such a dumb fuck, aren't you? Yeah, nobody loves you. You're
you
a
just do
stupid
that
piece of
voice and they're
shit,
just like,
and they're
yeah.
like,
I love this voice.
yeah. So it's the same. It's kind of the
Pretty
same
much
thing,
me.
right? So if you're like, what it reminds me, there's a I think it's from the show Billions. I've seen the clip a couple times, but essentially it's like two guys are talking in like a soundproof room, and they're like we're gonna fight. We're gonna pretend to fight, but we're gonna have a normal conversation. And so like they're pretending to have this argument, and he's like, "I'm gonna push you now," and he like pushes him. He's like, don't touch my face." And he's like, "You're great. I want the
I've
best
done
for you."
I've done this. So back in high school, my buddy had headphones in, and I talked to my other friend, and I was like, "Look, I'm gonna act like I'm talking shit, but we're complimenting him." So I lean over. I'm like, he's a really good friend. I'm really proud of him. He's doing really good. Like he's gonna go far in life. And I look at him, and he starts smiling, and he's like, takes out his earbud. And he's like, "I know you're talking shit. Fucking hear you." And I was like, "Yeah, what did we say?" And he's like, "You said that I'm a fucking loser." And I was like, "Yeah, you're an idiot because I've been complimenting you this entire time." My
Whole
team was
time.
behind us during this point because he was in on this. And he's like, "Yeah, dude, they were totally calling you like a good friend, all this type of shit. Like, they literally did this specifically to see if you would like act if it was something else." And he's like, "Nah, they're not that type of people." And he's like, "Well, it did happen. Like, the fuck do you want from that?" But I did the exact same thing. It's the only time I've ever done it, but it was fun.
Right. So it does specify they if they can't hear you, it doesn't work, and that makes
Yeah, so
sense.
like deafness wouldn't work. If they're like already deaf, certain things
Right.
like that.
Um, because like there are other physical cues, but it's like context is yeah the words aren't the context, like we were saying, like I fucking love you, you fucking motherfucker, like you're
Healing words.
like it doesn't matter, you're like, oh they're intense, holy shit. um so yeah, no, I would allow it, and because it is, and the being charmed thing is a little weird, but all right. Additional magical secrets. At sixth level, you learn 2 spells of your choice from any class. A spell you choose must be a level you can cast, as shown on the bard table, or a cantrip. The chosen spells count as bard spells for you, but don't count against the number of bard spells you know.
Hmm.
So I like this because I think at 10th they get magical secrets normally. So they get. Well, I don't like bards, and bards are just dramatic wizards, um, like stupid wizards that went to drama school. Um, am I wrong? Um, Stop choking on noodles, my guy.
No, that
I
was actually
I like. It's one of the things like why don't wizards get something like this too? Like it's wizards do the same kind of like that. That's my just like an issue I have with bards in general is that they're portrayed as kind of dramatic wizards essentially. Like you read how they like wizards want to go out and learn knowledge, bards want to go out and learn knowledge. Like they're the same fucking class.
I
But
can agree with that. Like one's more
um
artistic with it, but
so right. So
more artistic.
I think there should be something where I think the problem is they don't want wizards to have cleric spells or have healing spells. Yeah, because then wizards are unstoppable because they have access to like everything. Um, so yeah, you want magic missile and cure wounds? How is that fair? Um, but no, this is great. Actually, the my kid is playing a bard in my friend Curtis's game, um, and I think at we're level 8, and they got their additional because they went lore because they're fans of my wizard Thazar because they read his books and they're like, I want to meet this great wizard. Um, because we had to find a easy justifiable reason for their character to be in the game, so that's the one we went with. They took Revivify, I took Revivify for them, um, and then something else. I think Fireball because I don't think they get Fireball. So I took an offensive spell and like a defensive, arguably defensive spell. So I was like, they just have two more. They have one for Fireball and things, and they have one for when the Barbarian dies. Not if, but when. Because Chips is not scared of dying.
Yeah, he's not scared of dying because he's going to come back anyway.
Right. It's just, oh, that's number 18.
Please leave.
I don't know if I told you that. I think we discussed this that the reason he can come back so easily is because the goddess of love just loves kicking him out. Be like, yes, he sounds great. Go be with your husband. Yes, yes.
Yeah, please,
Oh,
they're so annoying. Please leave.
oh, thank God he's gone. Thank me, he's gone.
He's definitely the next god of love.
Right. He just loves killing. So yeah, additional magical secrets is really good because bards get some decent spells. They, as far as caster classes that get kind of spells known, besides wizards, bards are the second highest. So, um, as because like I think sorcerers only get like 15, warlocks are useless, and also get like 15. So like a lot of classes don't get a breath, and this one allows you to pick any spell. So if you're going for if you have an idea or a build, or you're like, oh, I think this would be really good, um, it's really good. I mean, there's really like a lot of these abilities are just solid abilities. Um, like additional skills and additional spells. Like it's a very it's not as strong as like eloquence or creation or as overpowered as glamour, but it's solid. Like there's really no negative thus far. Um, and follow that up, peerless skill. Starting at 14th level, when you make an ability check, you can expend one use of Bardic Inspiration, roll a Bardic Inspiration die, and add the number rolled to your ability check. You can choose to do so after you roll the die for the ability check, but before the DM tells you whether you succeed or not. So this allows you, as a bard, to use your own inspiration dice. It's very specific to only ability checks, but
Still useful.
still useful. Like I
Still
said,
very
not doesn't feel quite like a. This should be like another 6th level. Like its additional magical secrets isn't super powerful. It's just boom, like utility. This feels like utility. So this feels like it should be a 6th, like a second 6th level ability, and then something else. for their 14th level ability.
This is definitely one of those, like, we don't have anything for 14th level, so let's like put something there type of things. Like,
right.
it definitely gives that type of vibe to where it's like everything else is pretty solid, you know. You get 2 spells of your choice from any other spell list that is literally anything, as long as you can cast it already, like in terms of spell level or spell slot, I guess. You got Cutting Words, which is useful as fuck, and you get 3 skills added from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, all right, those are really, really solid. And you get to Peerless Skill, and it's like,
It's a solid ability. It just isn't strong enough for the capstone ability. It should be stronger as far as capstone abilities go. That's what I'm saying. Like, make it drop this to a second, 6th level ability, and then give them something. I would even say, arguably, like more magical secrets. Just 2 more spells, because then it's 14th level. That's what, 7th level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, you're able to cast 7th level spells. So that's 2 7th level spells from any class, which is like, I think, reincarnation. So maybe when do they get their additional secrets? Let's check. Normally, magical secrets. Oh, they already get magical secrets at 14, so never mind. I'm very smart. And then again at 18. Okay, yeah. So maybe not that, but something else. Like, it's I don't know what I would give them, but it doesn't feel strong enough. Like, it feels, this is a solid like 7 subclass, but could be strong. Could be stronger. Like, it doesn't. But it's maybe not a 7, maybe like a 5 or a 6. Like, it's good. It's solid in kind of whatever direction you want the character to go, but like, it could be better.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that you said 5, because I was going to say 5. Like,
but it could be better.
It could be better. It's not really bad. It's not really good. It's like,
yeah,
I don't got I already have a pre-made character. That's this. I'll play that. Like, you could make something out of nothing type of thing. It's a solid class. It's definitely, would I recommend it to a newbie? Yeah, I would say so, because it teaches you the fundamentals of a bard. You get the ability to learn like spells out of your spell class. It's like not bad.
I don't know. It's not bad, but it's not good either, or great. It's not great. It's good. It's not great. It's not bad. It's in the middle.
Yeah, definitely very 5. Like, I wouldn't push it to 4, but it's definitely a 5, in my opinion.
Maybe even 6, depending on how you choose your spells and proficiencies, and depending on the group, depending on how the person plays it.
It's very dependent. That's the thing.
Yeah. All right. So after that, we get the College of Spirits, and this one's from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. I think I've gone through this one before, and I don't care for it. Guiding Whispers. At 3rd level, you can reach out to spirits to guide you and others. You learn the Guidance Cantrip, which doesn't count against the number of Bard cantrips you know. For you, it has a range of 60 feet when you cast it. That's pretty good. It's a normal range. You get a free cantrip that normally has the range of touch. So that's kind of almost on par with what's it called? The cleric
Grave Domain, where they
can stabilize somebody from 30 feet away.
Yeah, they have Spare the Dying.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's an action. Guidance is an action, so that's the only negative. But if somebody's if you don't want to be near somebody in case they open a trap and explode a fireball in their face, like, you're doing great, type of thing.
You got this, bud.
I believe in you. but I'm also not stupid, so I'm over here.
Spontaneous animation.
Right. I mean, guidance isn't like the best spell, the best cantrip, but it's not, it's not bad. It has its uses. Like I said, I mean, it's 60 feet away. Like, I don't know why the range matters, but
Maybe it'll come up later in this. Maybe I've never read this one.
because that's a
This is the
skill
first
check,
book on
right?
it.
Any ability check of its choice. Yeah. So if they're making like, if they're trying to disarm something or something, I don't know. It's not terrible. I'm sure I'm sure there will be uses where it's one of those things. It's probably one of those things that I was playing a Sun Soul monk, and you don't realize how useful being able to punch people 30 feet away is until you're able to do it. Essentially, like I was blasting him with radiant energy, but like I didn't have to break the line. I didn't have to. If normally as a monk, I'm like I throw a dart at them, which is fine, but you run out of darts eventually. But like I didn't have to like run into melee away from the rest of the party to
Yeah,
start
you
to
didn't
do
have.
damage. So I could stay here with the ranger and the cleric and whoever and just go and
It works.
it works. So I don't want to say that making a spell that's touched to 60 feet is useless because I'm sure there are probably situations where it's real useful. I mean 60 feet is a lot. That's a big distance in a game like D&D where I mean most offensive spells, I think Fireball has a range of like 150 feet. And I think that's probably the longest range for offensive spells. Um, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, comment. Um, so then, spiritual focus. At third level, you employ tools that aid you in channeling spirits, be they historical figures or fictional archetypes. You can use the following objects as a spell casting focus for your bard spells: a candle, crystal ball, skull, spirit board, or Taroka deck. Starting at 6th level, when you cast a bard spell that deals damage or restores hit points through the spiritual focus, roll a d6 and you gain a bonus to 1 damage or healing roll of the spell equal to the number rolled. That is really strong.
That is.
I mean, it takes you to, it doesn't, you don't get it until 6, but like, um, I mean, it could be more broken, but if you have the ability to cast, unlimited amount of first level healing spells or whatever, um, adding an additional d6, like especially because if you think about it, during short rests, if you spend hit dice, bards add another d6 to healing, so it's one of those things like it adds up. An extra d6 of damage or an extra d6 of healing isn't, especially if like, or if you're casting like uh mass cure wounds or something, some kind of AoE heal spell. Maybe somebody's really beat up and you're like, well, you can take an extra d6 of healing, like
It
everybody,
definitely
like
does that.
the group needs a good 15 points of healing and I rolled pretty well, but you need 20, 25 or whatever, so like I'll just add the d6 to you, so
It definitely has
it's
its advantages.
right. There's no negatives, and it's whenever there's no limit. So it's every spell, as long as every spell you cast, um, which I would like to point out counts cantrips. So a if you have a cantrip that deals damage, you can do an additional d6 of damage on that cantrip every single time. Which for cantrips, that's the whole thing is unlimited uses, and they go up in damage. So at 6th level, most of them. So now you cast Firebolt. That's 2d10 plus a d6.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's good. Like that's
Added damage or added anything for
right.
free.
Exactly. It would only be better if it was like just straight charisma. But this kind of gives the variability of it could be better, it could be worse.
Yeah.
But it's either way, it's additional damage or additional healing. So I like it. Tales from Beyond. At 3rd level, another 3rd level ability. Jesus, how many 3rd level abilities do you get?
Got 3.
Tales from Beyond. At third level, you reach out to spirits who tell their tales through you. While you're holding your spiritual focus, you can use a bonus action to expend 1 use of your Bardic Inspiration and roll on the spirit tables using your Bardic Inspiration die to determine the tale the spirits direct you to tell. You retain the tale in mind until you bestow the tale's effects or you finish a short or long rest. You can use an action to choose one creature you see within 30 feet of you, this can be you, to be the target of the tale's effect. Once you do so, you can't bestow the tale's effect again until you roll it again. You can retain only one of these tales in mind at a time, and rolling on the spirit tale's table immediately ends the effect of the previous tale. If the tale requires a saving throw, the DC equals your spell save DC. Numerical order, Tale of the Clever Animal. For the next 10 minutes, whenever the target makes an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma check, the target can roll an extra die immediately after rolling the d20 and add the extra die's number to the check. The extra die is the same type as the Bardic Inspiration die. Okay. That's nasty. It's not the next roll. So you give them Bardic Inspiration on intelligence, wisdom, or charisma checks for the next 10 minutes.
It's fucking impressive.
Yeah. Second, Tale of the Renowned Duelist. You make a melee spell attack against a target. On a hit, the target takes force damage equal to 2 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration plus your charisma modifier. I mean, not terrible. That's third level. That's 2d6 plus 4. That's of force damage, which we've discussed many times, is one of the least resisted damage types in the game.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
That's solid. Yeah, no, it's not too powerful. Although, I mean, if you keep rolling a 2, then that means you can roll poorly, so you're doing 6 or 7 points of force damage, but and you still have to hit them. But it's a melee spell attack, so it's not ranged. So you have to be near them. Yeah, so there's sort of negatives, but and it's using your action. Yeah, it's good. I like it. It's solid. Third, Tale of the Beloved Friends. The target and another creature of its choice it can see within 5 feet of it gains temporary hit points equal to the roll of your Bardic Inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. Once again, not decent. Even 5 extra temp hit points is for 2 characters is still great because it's a Bardic Inspiration. So that's a resource that at level 5 you get back every short rest. Fourth, Tale of the Runaway. The target can immediately use its reaction to teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. When the target teleports, it can choose a number of creatures it can see within 30 feet of it, up to your charisma modifier, minimum of 0, to immediately use the same reaction. That is a great get the fuck out of danger ability.
Automatic teleport of 30 feet.
Right.
And it's up to 0, which is weird. So that means
minimum 0, yeah.
But
I mean, why are you a bard with a 0 charisma? Yeah. Still good. And it's established you can target yourself with these. So you can be like, I'm leaving. Anybody want to come with me? And then you all just blue skidoo your way out of there. 5, Tale of the Avenger. For 1 minute, any creature that hits the target with a melee attack takes force damage equal to a roll of your Bardic. Damn.
Not bad.
That would be great on a barbarian. Because they want to get hit anyway.
Yeah, all of them get fucked.
Especially if they're the this is even funnier, the guardian spirits. Because I'm your target. If you don't hit, if you hit me, you take damage. If you hit them, you also take damage. Choose carefully, motherfuckers. And that's a minute. That's not for the next round. A minute. A minute is a long time. It's even better if you're fighting things that don't do a whole lot of damage and you're a barbarian. So, you you're reducing the damage by half. So like, you know, you're being swarmed by some like a bunch of goblins or kobolds or other small creatures or medium, and you know they're hitting you, but they're not doing a whole lot of damage. And that's the whole thing is, you know, the action economy, and each of them is taking a D8 of damage each time they hit you. So I like that. That's really good. 6, Tale of the Traveler. The target gains temporary hit points equal to a roll of your Bardic Inspiration die plus your Bard level. While it has these temporary hit points, the target's walking speed increases by 10 feet, and it gains a +1 bonus to its AC. I like that. I really like that one. Because 10 extra, like 10, you know, because that's at this point it peaks once you're past level 5. Like it's better. The Tale of Beloved Friends is a little bit better because it's 2 creatures, and it's your modifier plus your inspiration die. So once you get past 5th level, then it's a guaranteed 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like it's a guaranteed minimum of, you know, your level +1. And then 10 extra feet of movement. Like, you don't understand how, like, people don't understand how good additional movement is.
Yeah, like I wouldn't purposely make characters with high amounts of fucking
Like
movement just to get places or
10,
run.
10 extra feet, especially if they're a rogue, because then they can move dash. And like that's 30 extra feet of movement. And that is not even counting if they're not even, that's not even accounting for if they're a tabaxi.
Yeah, or they have like mobile.
Right. Well, no, I'm just counting their base movement.
Okay.
Because it's 10 extra feet per move action essentially. So that's 3 move actions. That's 30 extra feet. If they're a tabaxi, that's 60 extra feet total. Like that's a lot. And even 10 extra feet, like there's even 5 extra feet makes the difference sometimes. So 10 extra feet is like icing.
Yeah, as long as you can get enough movement to make them have to dash towards you to take away one of their actions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Tale of the Beguiler. I thought you were going to talk more, so that's why I took a bite of my food.
Like this is one of those ones where it's like it's just a lot of information and it's like me trying to soak it up. So
I got
it's
you.
like any personally movement, either I'm making a character that is designed around movement and like I'm going to use that movement to my advantage, right? So I would choose a character that has already a higher movement speed. I would choose feats that would boost it and all that type of jazz. Like that would definitely boost it even further. Dude, that'd be crazy as shit. Like almost anything that has a high movement speed would have to dash towards you the higher you make it. And that is beneficial to the rest of the party who say that they're already way ahead of you and you're the last one that stayed behind for the fact that they know that you can run. If you're just the tail and you're just forcing whatever that is into danger further ahead, like sounds pretty interesting. Like there's a couple ways that you could definitely set this up and make it interesting.
Right, because think about it this way. I'm playing a rogue. You're whatever we're fighting. I get the bonus, extra 10 feet of movement. On my turn, I stab you as my standard action. I use disengage as my bonus action, and then move as my move action. I move 40 feet away. You are able to move 30 feet, and then you have to use your action to move another 10 feet to base me.
Yeah.
Rinse, repeat. I just stab you, disengage, move 40 feet. Like it's kiting. You're kiting enemies essentially.
Yeah.
Eventually, enemies, especially if like some enemies, because there are some players that don't build their characters with any ranged weapon. So if all they have is, or if they're not intelligent enough, or they don't have a ranged weapon that they need to melee you, like they don't have many choices. Like so, Tale of Beguiler. The target must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw or take psychic damage equal to 2 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration, and the target is incapacitated until the end of its next turn. That is disgusting. Because I think incapacitation means like it's automatic, possibly automatic crits. Let's look. I can never remember what they all are. An incapacitated creature can't take actions or reactions. I mean, that's okay. It's not automatic crits, but once again, you hit them and then you run away. If that's what you got to do. Like you're hoping that they fail the wisdom save, but actually it's 30 feet. So you can target somebody who's 30 feet away from you. So you don't even have to be meleeed with them. So, yeah. I mean, worst case, they pass the check and they take no damage. But this once again, this is a bardic inspiration you've used. This is not like you're wasting a spell slot.
Yeah, this is like, okay, you lost.
You're not wasting a second or third level spell slot for them to pass their saving throw, and suddenly they're not being held. Hold person or charm monster or whatever doesn't work on them. This is usually cool. It's still an action, which is the only negative. It's not a bonus action, but you're like, boom, cool. All right, well, at least I still have all of the spells that I get as a bard. 8, Tail of the Phantom. The target becomes invisible until the end of its next turn or until it hits a creature with an attack. If it hits a creature with an attack during its invisibility, the creature it hits takes necrotic damage equal to a roll of your Bardic Inspiration die and is frightened of the target until the end of the frightened creature's next turn. That's great. One of the things that I would allow is if it's a critical hit, because you're rolling a die. So I feel like that's additional. That's dice of damage. So if you rolled a critical hit, if you got a crit, then it would be 2 Bardic Inspiration dice. Right? Tracking? Good talk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like trying to reread and then deal with other shit on the side. It's like, yeah. Just
Yeah, it's bonus damage because if they're attacking, they're invisible, so they have advantage, so they're likely to hit the enemy.
yeah,
And then they take additional necrotic damage, which it's kind of middle of the road. I think it might be towards the more resistant version, but it's extra damage. They're invisible, so
they're frightened afterward.
And they're frightened, yeah, so they can't move closer, and they have to actively move away.
Yeah, it's got its benefits. I definitely will say that.
Which technically is another attack of opportunity.
Yeah. I would say that's a very beneficial one. Definitely more useful than some.
Because this is not like, oh, I do this. It's like, you have an ally who is great at melee, and they have a +1 weapon or a +2 weapon and a 5 dexterity and an advantage. They're like, cool. Tail of the Brute. Each creature of the target's choice it can see within 30 feet of it must make a strength saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes thunder damage equal to 3 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration die and is knocked prone. A creature that succeeds on its saving throw takes half as much damage and isn't knocked prone. That's disgusting.
A lot of rolls.
Right, because once again, within 30 feet of it. So if you're surrounded, you're like, beefcake! And then everything around you. Now you do the boom, boom, firepower! And then every enemy within 30 feet of you.
Dude, so I'm going to say this right off the bat before we continue. It's like, remember, this is a 3rd level ability, and obviously it's capped to your level. So at 6th level, you only get 1 through 6. But the higher you go, it's like, dude, these are some really good abilities. I'm not even fucking joking here. Once you get a die 10 or a D10, you would be able to do this. And I'm sure that's later on in the bard, but it's like, that's fucking impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah. 10th level is when you get your D10. and then 15th level is when you get your D12. So yeah, it is capping itself pretty validly. It's its own limiter, which I like.
Yeah, like it makes sense for the reason why
Because it's
it.
not because you don't have to explain that you don't get the 12 at level 4. Like you're like, yeah, it's your bardic inspiration dice. You can only roll so high, so you don't have to add be like, and when you get to 8th level you get this, and when you get to 10th level you get this, and when you get to 15th level you get this, type of thing. It does it in its own simple way. But I mean, 3D at this point, it's 3d10 thunder damage to all enemies within 30 feet of you. If they save, they take half.
Thunder's pretty decently
Right.
like.
Yeah, it's one of the more resisted, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. I'm not gonna sit here and lie.
Right. It's good. No, it's good. 10. Tail of the Dragon. The target spews fire from the mouth in a 30-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a dexterity saving throw, taking fire damage equal to 4 rolls of your bardic inspiration die on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. You get a free breath weapon for doing 4d10. Like that's solid damage.
It's arguably better than what the Dragonborn breath.
Not even arguably, it is better. Because you get this is 10th level. You get this. Dragonborn are like 2d6 and get to 3d6 and maybe 4d6. I think is their max.
Yeah, and it doesn't really stack that well.
So if you get this one, you can get up to 4d12.
Yeah.
No, yeah, this
That's
is and it's
48 points of damage.
and a 30-foot cone is a great range. And not
That's
as
a
much
lot of damage.
not as much theoretical damage as Tail of the Brute, but Tail of Dragon, and it's fire damage once again, most resisted. But there's also you can set off explosions, and it's still solid.
Aim for the red barrels. Remember that.
Right, exactly. Obviously, everybody knows that. Come on now. Tail of the Angel. The target regains hit points equal to 2 rolls of your bardic inspiration die, plus your charisma modifier, and you end one condition from the following list affecting the target: blind, deafened, paralyzed, petrified, or poisoned. That's really good. I mean, like you said, you don't get that till 15, so healing 2d12 plus 5 isn't a whole lot. But it's better than nothing. And you can end in condition. So it's almost like Lay on Hands Light. Which once again, there's no negative to any of these. Like all of these are circumstantially great, and being able to get an additional heal is awesome. 12. Tale of the Mindbender. You invoke an incomprehensible fable from an otherworldly being. The target must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take psychic damage equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die and be stunned until the end of its next turn.
That's pretty good.
Right. Because you target like a giant with this, they're probably not going to pass the intelligence saving throw. And they're stunned, which that's the one that allows them to be everything.
That's where meat and potatoes really is, in my opinion. Right. Like, the damage is great, but you stunning them until the end.
They're incapacitated, can't move, and can speak only falteringly. The creature automatically fails strength and dex saving throws, and it attacks against it have advantage.
Yeah, that's
like Jesus. This could change an entire combat. Like, people bitch about monks doing their stunning strike and how broken that can be. It's because it stuns. Stuns can change an entire course of a combat. You're fighting the BBEG, you hit them with this, but even if they're a lich, they fail their, maybe they've already used a bunch of their things, but they're like, all right, I can take some psychic damage, but then they're stunned. I don't know if liches can be stunned, but hypothetically, they're stunned for a round until the end of its next turn. Hopefully it doesn't go next, but still, either way, it's losing a turn. Ideally, it's going to be dead before it goes, because hopefully you have a whole bunch of people in between you and its turn. But you give a fighter, you give a monk, you give a barbarian advantage against somebody for a turn, yeah. Especially if the fight, like, you give a fighter advantage and they haven't used their action surge yet. Oh, I feel so bad for what's about to happen to that thing.
Yeah.
So
Got a
all of
point.
those are good.
Oh,
That
bad.
whole table, once again, it limits itself, but then scales up its usages. Because when you get tail of the when you go from the D8 to the D10, you're now doing 3 times or 4 times, for damage, or healing a 2d12 plus charisma, or doing 4d12. Sorry, 3d12 plus stun. Like, it's a good ability. This whole it's unlike, it's kind of like um the the wild mage barbarian. Like, a lot of the abilities aren't the best, but they're all still good, and that's kind of how this feels. And it's even better if you have a creative, because it's a tale. So it's even better if you have a creative bard who just comes up with a story about it on the fly. Like, I think that would be really cool. Like, that's one of those things where, like, I give somebody bonus, like, inspiration, or uh, whatever, advantage or disadvantage. An enemy gets disadvantage. Like, it's a whole thing depending on the tale. Um, Spirit session. At 6th level, spirits provide you with supernatural insights. You can conduct an hour-long ritual channeling spirits, which can be done during a short or long rest using your spiritual focus. You can conduct the ritual with a number of willing creatures equal to your proficiency bonus, including yourself. At the end of the ritual, you temporarily learn one spell of your choice from any class. Okay. The spell you choose must be of a level equal to the number of creatures that conducted the ritual or less. Okay. The spell must be of a level you can cast, and it must be the school of divination or necromancy. The chosen spell counts as a bard spell for you, but doesn't count against the number of bard spells you know. Once you perform the ritual, you can't do so again until you start a long rest, and you know the chosen spell until you start a long rest. Okay. This is kind of like a more theatrical version of additional magical secrets,
Yeah,
essentially.
that's something I was thinking.
Um, because you still have to be able to cast it, so you can't get like a 9th level spell. Um, the highest level you can ever get is 6, which kind of sucks. But like, by established, that's revivify, because the resurrection spells are necromancy, if I remember correctly. Um, and having a bard, if you have a bard and a cleric, but having a bard be able to res people, it doesn't hurt. And once again, it's thematic. It's you're doing a little seance thing, which could be interesting. Um, kind of like barbarians. How barbarians had their whole level 10 ability, which was they could do a thing and cast a spell, or do this thing or do that thing, or gain a random spell because of their totem. It's just it's added flavor, which I like. All right, mystic connection, or mystical connection. At 14th level, you now have the ability to nudge the spirits of tales from beyond towards certain tales. Whenever you roll in the spirit tail's table, I keep doing that. You can roll the die twice and choose which of the two effects is bestowed. If you roll the same number on both dice, you can ignore the number and choose any effect. See, it's just the same as um, the wild magic barbarian. Like, it's good, but it's only um, like, hooray! I get to roll twice. But I mean, it's all of them are good, as we've established. And like you said,
Yeah,
it's a free action, or it's you get, it's your bardic inspiration, so you get them back. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of every. I'm glad that it's not all banking on just the table. Like, you get a whole bunch of useful abilities. You're tweaking out over there.
same thing on my screen for you.
Except yours, you were doing this.
Mine, you were frozen, and then it would, like, you'd be frozen for a while, and then it would, like, jump really quickly to like it being caught up, and then just super fast, like everything in between. So I'm like, okay, one of our shit's fucked up.
Um, yeah, I like this subclass. It's
Definitely,
thematical. It's
yeah, I would say
thematical,
definitely a thematical one.
but like we said, none of these abilities are terrible. I mean,
No,
guidance, 60-foot guidance, decent.
I would I would put
Spirit,
this at like a 6 or 7 for the
yeah,
sheer fact.
spiritual focus. Once again, like it all depends on the player, you know.
Yeah, this one's actually pretty decent one. Definitely better than lore in my opinion. Because lore is like a 5. This is like high 6 to a decent 7. Like
Right.
definitely something fun.
And then your all of these abilities are really good. Like I don't
Definitely.
think any of them are really terrible
No, I wouldn't say so. They definitely have pretty decent things about them.
because it's all circumstantial. Well, you roll and then you roll in advance too. So you use it in advance and then you know what one you have. So then you know like a situation when a situation, an ideal situation that you want to use that in comes up, you can just use it. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're raging and then oh well um we're fighting a kraken, but I can or we're fighting something and I can do 10 I can do necrotic damage to things. Cool.
Yeah,
Um,
not necessarily the best, but it's definitely better than nothing.
right. Yeah, no, I like that one.
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
I, all right. College of Swords. Ugh. Bonus proficiencies. When you join the College of Swords at third level, you gain proficiency with medium armor and the scimitar. If you're proficient with a simpler martial weapon, you can use it as a spellcasting focus for your bard spells, which I like.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Because I mean, giving a character medium armor doesn't hurt,
Ooh,
and a scimitar for some reason, and then
no, sword.
being able to use your because the second part essentially means that um, you don't have to take the warcaster feat essentially because you could still cast because your a weapon is your casting focus, so you don't
Yeah,
have to you don't have to work around holding onto a weapon, um, which
you
I
just
like.
put your wand as the hilt of your sword.
Right, nailed it. Um, Fighting style. At third level, you adopt a particular style of fighting as your specialty. Choose one of the following options. You can't take a fighting style more than one or option more than once, even if you later get to choose again. Dueling, you get +2 as long as you're wielding +2 damage as long as you're only wielding one weapon or in one hand. Two weapon fighting, you can use your ability modifier on your offhand. I mean, it's definitely going more. This is obviously going a very offensive melee type of bard, but like I don't think you. Yeah, you get extra attack, so it's not like there's some classes that you can get extra attack and only get one extra attack, or get dueling or two weapon fighting and then only get extra attack once. But um, for a class that has, well, I guess they use their bardic inspirations as part of their attacks, so that actually doesn't. That's not necessarily negative. So you could do two weapon fighting and go like standard action stab, bonus action stab. Um, at third level, for Blade Flourish, at third level, you learn to conduct impressive displays of martial prowess and speed. Whenever you take the attack action on your turn, your walking speed increases by 10 feet until the end of the turn. And if the weapon attack that you make as part of this action hits a creature, you can use one of the following Blade Flourish options of your choice. You can use only one Blade Flourish option per turn. Defensive Flourish, you can expend one of your Bardic Inspirations to cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target you hit. The damage equals the number you roll on the Bardic Inspiration die. You also add the number rolled to your AC until the start of your next turn. Having an extra 6, 8, 10, or 12 armor class is never a bad thing, um, especially if you hit. Yeah, so effectively, it feels this is effectively like the martial, the fighter subclass that gets all of the the random like maneuvers.
Yeah,
This is a bardic equivalent.
yeah, this is like a bard. Was it the fighter with a superiority die and all those
Yeah,
fucking?
that we cannot remember the name of for some reason. Um,
I know they use a superiority die if I'm
yeah,
correct.
yes,
Star card maneuvers card.
yeah, they're maneuvers. Maneuvers. Slashing flourish. You can expend one of your bardic inspiration to cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target you hit, and to any other creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet. The damage equals the number you roll on the bardic inspiration die. I'm wondering if this works with what's it called? Booming blade. I don't think you have. I think it's you're using a spell casting action and are able to make an attack as part of that action. So I think it's probably different. Um, but doing extra damage to the person you're hitting and then the person beside them.
Always
It's
beneficial.
extra damage.
Yeah.
Mobile flourish. You can expend one use of your bardic inspiration to cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target you hit. The damage equals the number you roll on the bardic inspiration die. You can also push the target up to 5 feet away from you, plus a number of feet equal to the number you roll on the die. You can then immediately use your reaction to move up to your walking speed to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the target. It's all right because you're moving them around. I mean, ideally, you're moving them at level 3. You're only moving them. You can only move them in increments of 5 feet, though. So that's a little janky. But you only move them extra 10 feet. But you know, you need to move people around. I can see how all of these could be useful. Like mobile flourish, if you want to push somebody off of something, that's
Yeah,
really good.
definitely. Like trying to get them off of you so you can like
Or no, if you're like if you're fighting them like on a train or something, you could mobile flourish them and
push them off. Like
push them
you're
off a
like
train and
disengage and like
uh,
push them right off, dude. That'd be
and
really fun.
slashing flourish if there's two people, that's you can hit. You know,
Get surrounded, start cutting more than
and
one person.
defensive flourish if you're dealing with something that's like barely hitting you because you have then you damage it and then it can't damage you. Can't really hit you back.
Yeah, like it's like you're using your sword and you catch them really good into like their sword arm, like right into that pocket where it really fucks up the shoulder, and now like you can't really hit that well because you just damaged the fuck out of their pectoral muscle and like the joint. Like using that as like a
Or like I'm thinking of Arya in Game of Thrones season 8 when she
never
fights she fights Brienne of Tarth and she's only using like a rapier or a
was that the
flail.
one that had like that little toothpick looking weapon?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like it's she's kind of doing like a defensive flourish thing. She's doing stuff and it's it's distracting. So it's yeah, all of these are good. I don't know if I would put I think this is a situation where I wouldn't organize them as 1, 2, 3 because it depends on the situation which one I would prefer to use. So yeah, I mean, I think if you keep getting if you want to push somebody away from you, mobile flourish is great. If you're you
they
want
got
to
their benefit.
damage a couple people, especially if somebody's if if like if the guard whoever's protecting a wizard and the wizard's like concentrating on a spell, like you hit the fighter and then you do some damage to the wizard, that's a con save. They might pass it, but you're making them roll. Anytime you can make a caster, a concentrating caster roll a con save, there's always the chance that they fail it.
Yeah,
So it's
I've seen people who have like they made their character with high cons, so that way that when they pass the con save to try and like
or
keep
it's
them
easy.
killed,
Yeah.
it's like they even with the high modifier, like, and they roll decently, just not enough. It just sucks, but it's still there. Like the possibility is always going to be there.
Exactly. So those are all good. They're circumstantial which one is better, but you get to make that decision. And the best part is, unlike the fighter subclass where you have like 15 of them and you have to pick like 2 or 4,
Yeah.
like you only have these 3, so you don't have to choose which ones to know. And then it would suck if there was an additional one that you're like, oh, I didn't pick that one. That one would be real fucking useful right now. Extra attack, like I said, starting at 6th level, they can attack twice instead of once whenever they take the attack action on your turn. An extra swing around if you're going, like, they're supposed to be built like a melee character, so if that's the whole concept. Not a whole lot to talk about there. Master's Flourish, starting at 14th level, whenever you use a Blade Flourish option, you can roll a d6 and use it instead of expending a Bardic Inspiration die. So that means you get to keep a Bardic Inspiration. So the one resource that you as a bard have besides spells, you get to keep. Good talk.
Sorry, like Harley's messaging me something important, so I'm trying to like message her back. So can you repeat what you said again? I'm sorry.
I said I love you.
Sure you did.
Master's Flourish. So at 14th level, they can roll a d6 instead of using Bardic Inspiration. I'm not repeating it a third time.
I mean, if you decide to.
You're not using the, like I said, the one of the resources that bards have besides their spells. Spells and inspiration. Like you get, because I mean, yeah, you at 14th, at 15th you get the D12, so you might want to add an additional D12 to your AC. But
yeah, that's the thing. It's like it could work. It's like it's really up to you.
if somebody's barely hitting you, or if you only have to move people around a little bit, or if you're only trying to do a little bit of extra damage, yeah, doing an extra D6, like,
yeah, like if it's a small amount that you need it, sure, like I could see that. But in cases where it's like, hey, I really need to increase my AC, or I need to hit harder than normal, like I would use a Bardic Inspiration personally. Like it gives it a use other than the normal uses. Like definitely one of those, like you could pick and choose when it decides to be good type of things, or when it could be.
The argument I would have is that after 5 rounds of combat, if you use a flourish every round, you're out.
Yeah, that too. Like you.
So this is like if you're fighting like henchmen or lower level, like lower threat monsters, you can use a flourish every round, hitting somebody, doing something. And then when you get to somebody where you want to possibly do the extra damage or get the extra armor class or push them an extra, 6 to 8 feet back, or not 8, I guess an extra possible 6. But the thing is, it's, rolling a D6 and a D12. The difference is that it's a 1 in 12 that you roll a 1, but you can still roll a 1 on a D12.
Yeah.
So I would be pissed if I used all of my D10s at that point, like every turn, and I'm rolling all my D12s to do extra damage or extra armor, and I'm rolling 1s every time. I'm like, cool. I just wasted. I could have been giving the fighter an extra D10 to hit, or the rogue, or the wizard, or the cleric, or the paladin, or anything like. But this allows you to save your bardic inspirations for other things if you want to, while still getting to do a little extra pizzazz. And this, like I said, like your superiority dice run out during combat. This means you have unlimited superiority dice effectively. Like your options are more limited, but
imagine that like you run out, like you're out, you already used them, you're still able to continue, like you're able to just use D6s and like, yeah, it's smaller die, but dude, that still helps.
Right. Even so, even one extra point of damage makes a difference.
Yeah. People like really look down on like 1 point of damage or 1 healing, but as long as it's 1 point, like dude,
the amount of times that I have been in fights in games where an enemy got dropped to exactly 1 hit point is a considerable amount of fights. Like
It's
this
funny
isn't
because
this
that
isn't like
happened to
this
me.
isn't like a Phineas and Ferb thing. But like it's weird that it happened twice, but like it is a significant, like it's not every time, and not, probably not, maybe not even more than 50%, but like if it's enough that you're like it happens, like it's a trend for sure. So 1 extra point of damage makes all the
So
difference, especially if what if the fighter is beating the shit out of, or somebody hits the like the whole thing, like the fighter wizard combo, and we're fighting the fighter and somebody hits the wizard behind and they have 1 hit point left. You stab the fighter and you're able to do 1d6 of damage. You do 1 point of damage to that wizard for free, I might add. Or actually do that in reverse. You slashing flourish against the wizard, and you're getting free damage on the fighter who has, theoretically a way higher armor class. Fighter's like, I got a 24. Wizard's like, I got a 12. You're like, cool. And you just stab the shit out of the wizard while still doing damage to the fighter. The fighter's like, what the hell? How is this? This makes no logical sense. I'm using his blood. I'm like, I'm doing psychic damage to you because I'm killing your wizard in front of you, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Like, so, yeah, it's all gravy.
yeah, this is a decent class. Like mainly if you're going for like
Yeah,
a more
like I said,
style build.
this is like probably a 7.
Yeah, this is a pretty decent one. I would,
Yeah.
yeah, 7.
I mean,
I would,
once again, it really depends on what you're fighting. It really depends on, like, but you get additional weapon and armor proficiencies. You can use your weapon as your focus. You get a fighting style. You get blade flourishes. You get extra attack. People don't appreciate how often swinging a second time matters.
yeah, like I
As like a rogue, like that's why rogues wielding two weapon fighting makes the most sense, because if I miss with my primary weapon, yeah, like cool. Like I miss and then I hit you with my offhand weapon. Yeah, I'm only doing straight D6 if it's like a short sword. But also, if you're melee, that's where my sneak attack comes in. So like increasing the chances of me hitting you and being able to do sneak attack damage. Like if I hit you with my primary, I might not even swing with my secondary, because why? Like, but I might. It would just be like, cool, take an extra D6 or whatever. Um,
yeah, yeah,
And then there are feats you could take that allow you to get fighting styles too. So you could be a rogue that does 2 weapons, and so there's or dueling. You're a bard that uses a rapier. That extra 2 damage. It's not going to stack up as much as like a fighter doing dueling. Although a fighter using dueling style makes less sense, but a fighter with like great weapon fighting, you're not going to be able to compete with a fighter as far as damage output goes. But arguably, you're going to be able to compete in the same ballpark as a barbarian.
yeah,
Most of them probably, do D12 plus strength. You're doing D8 plus dex plus 2. So like you're only slightly behind. And then there's your flourishes. So you do an extra D, once you get to 14, you're like, cool, I'm doing a D8 plus a D6 plus 7, 8, 9, whatever your magic, like, so you're not able to DPS as well as a fighter, but arguably nobody does. Even monks, and they get the same amount of swings consistently. So yeah, no, this is good. This is good melee combat DPS build for a bard, because and then you get the armor proficiency, and it really depends on the build. I like it. It's not, if this is what I was building my bard for sure. But I mean, hell, wizards have blade singers, and that makes less sense. Like, I have D6 hit points, but I'm gonna jump into melee. Whee!
I have D6 hit points, but I'm gonna act like I have a D10.
Right. So yeah, no, it's good. I like it. All three of them had their own kind of niche. They're not as niche as rogues. Rogues are very niche in their subclasses. I like that rogues are niche in their subclasses, because like there's sort of, was it because there's this college, so there's College of Swords, and then there's another one that just feels like Valor. Yeah, so the one we do next video, College of Valor, like it feels like Swords, or I guess Swords feels like Valor. Like it just feels like they're two similar subclasses. Whispers is a lot of fun. I might do Dirge Singer just because, so we get 3 next time. But yeah, so that's it for that. Those were College of Lore, College of Spirits, and College of Swords. I like lore. Lore is good. Lore is great
These all have been a very good set.
if you don't have a lot of skill people in your group. Like if you're a fighter, maybe a cleric, maybe a wizard. Like if you don't have if you have a rogue, then maybe you don't have to because they're skill monkeys. But like if you're lacking skills, lore is great. If you want a little bit more extra pizzazz on spells, lore is great. Lore, like you said, lore isn't bad. Lore is solid. It depends on the player. It depends on the game. We went from there's some subclasses that are stupid broken, like glamour, versus creation, which isn't broken, which is very kind of niche as well in its kind of specific uses. But so it's they ebb and flow. They're not, for some reason they should be balanced. If there should be some numerical, like quantifiable data, and they should all be in the same ballpark, but they're not for some reason.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right, so that's it for the second video of Bard Colleges. We will see you next time in another Bard College video, or maybe a different video. Who knows? I sure as hell don't. Bye! Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And now you get to listen to the outro song. And that's the outro song.